Okay guys, so today I'm going to teach you about MB Cubemaps and how to properly set them on the Source 2 engine. You're going to be using the MB Combined Light Pro Volume, and you can see right here it says it's a combination of an MB Cubemaps and a Light Pro Volume. And so we have one set of rooms that don't have a cube map, and another one that has only one, another one where you have one per room. Finally, we have the very best setting where it's one per room, but with one particular setting. You need to make sure that this entity is at 72 units high, head height, and then you want to press Q and you can move the handles to extend it. So what happens if you don't use one of these entities? You see that the shadows on the up, they don't look well, it's too dark. As I'm moving it around, you don't see any kind of reflection at all. So the second case is what happens if you add a light pro volume on the center of the room, or in this case rooms. Even though this is going to be better, the scope of the op does have a reflection, but this reflection doesn't correspond with the rooms. Instead, it's just like a reflection of a single room. When I move, you don't get to see this wall reflected on the scope of the op. Now, in order to show you what would happen, I've added one that's right here in the middle of this wall. So I am on this room, there's this wall behind me. However, I don't see it. Instead, I see the white color of the floor of the room that's right here. So you should never place the Combined Pro Volume in between a wall. So to get an accurate representation of reflections, what you would do is you would add per room. Even though this is much better, it is still not optimal. So you will see that I have the reflection on the scope that corresponds to the entire room I'm in. And this is great. As I go to the second room, you will see the shadow. You see the shadow on the up, how sharp it is? There you can see it. There's this shadow cutting through the middle of the up. And look at what will happen with the scope when I enter the second room. It sort of abruptly changes from one reflection to the other. When I go into the third room, you see right there the shadow and the light is cutting through it. Instead of having the cube map end abruptly here on this wall, what I want to do is extend it slightly. And the same thing with other. And now you can see there's the edge of the Pro Volume and there's this thin line. So this thin line is the bound of the fade distance. So I'm going to increase it into 50 right here, and you can see how this has changed, and it changes on both sides. Now you don't want to abuse this, of course. I think 30 works just fine. And as I'm crossing to the other room, you now do not see that ugly sort of sharp fading of the shadow onto the up. So as I'm walking, it is nice and smooth. And look now at the scope fades into this second room. So you get a nice transition, not only in terms of the cube map, but also in terms of the shadows and lights that are reflected onto the op. There's no longer that sharp white cutting through the skin. And now I'm going to show you one final example. In the Source 2 engine, we don't have such very reflective textures, but I have created it specifically for this video. See this floor, this metal floor, extremely reflective, pretty much like a mirror, but in this room, you don't get to see it. So what is happening here? Well, this is because when I place the Combined Light Pro Volume, that I didn't add it so that it covers the floor. And this is one error that you could make. So you need to make sure always that the cube map goes through the texture. Otherwise, you don't get any reflection at all. Those are pretty much all the things that you need to learn when it comes down to using cube maps. I hope this video was useful to you guys, and I will see you in the next one.